And as you know, what prompted the event was the video, the YouTube short that I did, where I was talking about how we can say that we want a certain life experience, but yet we're always checking to see if it's present or not. And we get into this place where we're always saying, but it's not here yet. I did this, 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 and it's not here yet. So I talked about a few different examples, which I'll go through here because there's a little bit more I want to share about that. And after I did that video, a few weeks later, I think maybe 2 or 3 weeks later, I woke up in the middle of the night. And as I shared with you in email, waking up between 3 a.m. and 4 a.m. is sort of a usual thing for me now. And sometimes I'm like, I don't want to hear anything. I just want to sleep. And without fail, something happens. Either spirit is just having a conversation with me about something, or an idea for a perspective to share in a video happens, or I just get inspired to share a bunch of different things. It just happens in many different ways. It always reminds me of Neil Donald Walsh, who used to get up at a certain point in the middle of the night, and he wrote all of the books that Conversations with God books. It always reminds me of that. But somewhere between 3 and 4, I'm up, and I'm not like up, my eyes are not open, but I'm clear enough to receive. Sometimes stuff is flowing through and I'm like, y'all are just gonna have to bring that back to me when when I'm a little bit more mentally alert. But there are always, divine messages coming through during that time, or just me contemplating my own life and things that may not have been clear to me before are becoming clearer during those moments. So it's in one of those 3 to 4 a.m. moments where clearly this perception came into my mind, this thought. There are people out there who are just in that very cycle of, I'm going to focus on what I want to experience. And then, it doesn't happen. And all of a sudden you're like, it's not happening. It's not happening. And the minute we go into noticing that it's not happening, we're back into creating the absence of it. And there's this cycle that happens. I'm going to focus on what I want. It's not here yet. Back in the cycle. Focus on what I want. Back here yet, right? So I did that follow-up video that I got that in the middle of the night. And interestingly enough, when I received that in the middle of the night, it wasn't like I received everything that I'm about to share with you today. But what happened was I knew in that moment that I needed to share more on that topic. Didn't know what it was. I just knew that I needed to share more. Even when I created that video saying I will most likely host an event around it, in that video, I had no idea what I was gonna share with you. And that's kind of how it happens for me. Sometimes it's like I have a knowing that it will be an event, but I have no idea what I'm going to share with you during the event. And I've come to the point now where I just trust that something's going to unfold. And when it unfolds, I'll know, okay, so this is what I'm supposed to share. And somewhere between the time of knowing that it's going to be an event and today, I was in the shower, which it often happens. I was in the shower, taking a shower, stepped out of the shower, and all of a sudden, I was like grabbing my iPhone going, okay, wait. Just writing down all of the different potentials and possibilities for moving ourselves out of that cycle was coming through. And it sort of happened over the course of several days. I'd be sitting out in nature and I'd go, oh, okay, that's something to add. And I knew it was part of today's event. So that's kind of how it all came to be. So what we'll cover today, awareness is probably the most prominent thing, is just becoming more and more aware of what's causing the cycle and ways in which we can exit the cycle, if we choose, because sometimes we choose to be in the cycle for more learning, and that's okay too. So becoming more aware of the contributing factors around the cycle that we find ourselves in from time to time. Of course, exploring the 6 possibilities that I'm going to share with you as well. Where I wanted to start today was Examples of aligning with this perception that it hasn't happened yet. Expanding a little bit more on the examples I shared in that 1 minute video. So one example is, I've wanted this for so many years. You can't make that statement. We cannot make that statement without being in the vibration of that thing being absent. Because in order to notice that it hasn't been here for many years or for all your life or whatever, in order to notice that, you have to be in the vibration of the absence of that thing. So every time we go, it's been so many years, we're back in the vibration of the absence of that thing, creating more of the absence of that thing. What I wanted to add about that is that our inner being is never looking back. So your higher self, the greater part of who you are, is never going, it's been so long, and looking backwards, right, into the past where it hasn't been. So we're more in alignment with moving forward when we are where our inner being is focused, which is this present moment right now. So your inner being is not looking back. Another example is, I've done all the things I'm supposed to do, right? And that could be, it could be visualizing. It could be, I'm trying to stay happy and positive. It could be, I'm asking for help. I'm, all the things, right, that we're supposed to do to get what we want, and nothing is changing. But the minute you are noticing that it hasn't happened yet, the minute you're making the statement, I've done all of these things, first of all, you're arguing for limitations. And in order to make the statement, I've done all these things and nothing's changing, you're claiming powerlessness. I already did everything and nothing is working. Therefore, I am a powerless being, which is, of course, absolutely not true. But when we are talking about, I've tried this, I've tried that, nothing is working, we are aligned with a state of powerlessness. And of course, still aligned with the absence of the thing that we're wanting to move into, the experience that we're wanting to move into. You're also in that, when you're making that statement of, I've tried all the things, you're also in the place of, I really need to know what else to try. I want to know what else to try to make this thing stop or to make this thing start. I want to know what else to try. Going to cover that a little bit later, but just let's stick a pin in that. I really need to know what else to try. We'll come back to that. Another example of vibrating in the absence of the thing that is preferred or the thing that is desired is, I've been waiting on this for so long. You don't know how long I've been waiting for this lover, for this money to manifest, for this healing to manifest, whatever it is. I've been waiting for so long. Again, you cannot make that statement without first being in the vibration of the absence of that thing. And one of the things I stated in that 1 minute video is, whatever you're waiting for, whatever you perceive yourself as waiting for, you're also waiting with. So what did I mean by that? Well, embedded within the perception of waiting, right? If you're waiting in line for something, well, you're not at the end of the front of the line yet. So you're waiting, right? So you're noticing, I'm waiting. So the thing that I'm waiting on is not here yet. So in order to notice that you're waiting, in order to perceive yourself as waiting, you're automatically in alignment with the absence of that thing. So embedded within the perception of waiting is the belief that it's not here yet, is the perception that it's not here yet. And it's really important to become aware that it's always here. So any perception that you have that it's not here is aligning with what is not true. But we'll talk about more about that in a second. Another example of aligning with it's not here yet and the absence of that thing, therefore creating more of its absence, is something I didn't mention in that video, and it's strategizing. That's another way in which we're sort of aligning with it's not here yet. What do I mean by strategizing? Strategizing is it's not coming, so I'm going to figure out how. I'm going to decide on the how, right? Because we know when we're moving along the path to allowing more of what is preferred, the how is not our business. The universe will take care of it. Our work, all we have to do is vibrate in the same frequency of the thing that is preferred. How it happens is none of our business. Our human minds can't even think at the scope of the universe and how many ways it can bring that experience into our lives anyway. But strategizing is another sort of underhanded way that we're like, it's not here yet, so I'm gonna have to figure it out. What does strategizing look like? Well, let's take an example of I feel lonely, I feel alone, so I want a lover in my life. I want someone to be in a romantic relationship with. And you know of someone that you've been attracted to for a while, and now you're like, they've always been somebody that I really feel like I would be a great fit for me. But they're not noticing me, they're not coming toward me in the way that I want them to. So you begin to strategize. Maybe I'll start dropping hints. Maybe I'll call them up and ask them out and just, pretend it's platonic and then flirt with them. Or, I'll send this kind of text and it'll be sort of a hint that I want to be dating them or whatever. Or, you're coming up with all these strategies for how to get their attention. Okay. So that's an example. Another example, let's take money, love, and relationships, the top three, right? Let's take finances, right? So you're in a place where your perception is money is not here. That is not true. That is not true. We'll talk about that a little bit. But your perception and your physical experience is that money is not present. So when you feel like money isn't present, you start conjuring up in your mind ways in which you can get it. None of these things that I'm talking about, by the way, is wrong or bad, because there is no wrong or bad, right? It's just ways in which we live, and the more we can become aware of what's slowing things down, the more we're able to live more of the lives that, we find fulfilling. So let's say you're short on money, you perceive yourself to be short on money, you perceive yourself to be struggling for finances or whatever. Strategizing could be, well, I don't have it, but my grandfather's wealthy. He's got something I don't have, and I want some of what he has because I perceive myself to not have it. So you're like strategizing. Haven't talked to him in a while. Let me just call him up and just chat a little bit, ask him how he's doing, which will then cause him to ask me how I'm doing. And then I'll drop a hint that I'm really struggling for money. And because he's wealthy, he'll give me more money, right? So the strategy is I have to find somebody who this is the perception, right? I have to find somebody who has what I don't have. In this case, it's money. So this person in my mind has what I don't have. So my strategy is to either drop hints, say something, or somehow get them to notice that I need what they have that I don't have. And that's my strategy for how to get it, right? So one of the things that another example just popped into my mind. One of the things that I find fun to do is go out to eat and tip the waiter or the waitress a few times the total of my bill. So, if my bill is $25, I'll tip them $100 or something like that, right? So what I notice though is when I go into a restaurant and the waiter or the waitress is doing their thing, there's a distinct difference between the waiter or the waitress that's just doing their thing, joyfully doing their thing. They may be tired, because it's a tough job to be a waiter or waitress, right? But they're doing their thing. They're just there. They're not really concerned about how much I'm going to tip them. Those are the ones that I feel most drawn to surprising with a really large tip. And then there are ones who are strategizing. They're like, I have to go talk to her and I have to ask her how she's doing, strike up a little conversation. But you can sense that it's not genuine, right? You, the patron, you, the person who's at the restaurant, you can sense this waiter or this waitress is just strategizing in order to get the biggest tip possible. I have found in those instances that I'm um, less inclined, like I don't feel as open. The space doesn't feel as open for me to give a big tip, even though sometimes I still do. There's this strategizing at play, and it becomes, in a sense, harder for me to give in that energetic space, because they're not a vibrational match to what I want to do. So it feels harder for me to bless them with a big tip because their vibration feels staticky. They feel wanting, they feel needing, they feel, I need to get from this person who's at this table a big tip. So I have to do these things and act in these ways so that I can influence them to give me a big tip. And we don't know that we're doing this in the world. Like that person, they genuinely just want to make the most money possible because of whatever their circumstances is. So I don't blame them or in any way for that. But we often don't realize that the vibration that we are operating in, everyone around us is feeling it. Like even if you had a rich grandfather and you did, call them up, you're saying, hey, how are you doing? But you're vibrating, I need something from you that I perceive myself to not have. And what you're vibrating is felt far more strongly than the words that's coming out of your mouth. It's like the waiter is going, how are you doing? Do you live around here? Da, 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 whatever. But I can sense they're really strategizing. How many tables can I do this at in order to get money? Their vibration is being felt by me way stronger than their courteous words. I mean, asking me how I'm doing, do I live around here? Just normal conversational words, right? But you can do that from a genuine vibration of, I want to get to know people. I went to a restaurant the other day and this waiter, I just felt drawn to her. Her vibe was just so genuine. And when I tipped her, she was like, oh, are you paying for your meal? I'm like, no, that's for you. And she looked at me like, what? And I said, I love your vibe. You have a really genuine vibe. And she goes, I get that a lot. I really love this job. I love interacting with people. I love learning who people are and all. And we had a really good conversation about that. She was genuinely moving about the restaurant, enjoying the moment she gets to meet different people. That's a genuine thing for her, right? So the vibration that she's giving off, even when she wasn't at my table, was this openness. I'm just here. This is where life put me, and I'm just going to do my thing, right? So the vibration that she's moving in, whether or not she was talking to me or not, I felt it. And oftentimes we don't realize that when we're strategizing, the energy from which we're strategizing is an energy of lack. And regardless of where we're strategizing from, the person that's involved in our strategy in our minds is going to feel the vibration of what we're doing long before we utter a single word, long before we even try to connect with them. So again, nothing inherently wrong with having a strategy for different aspects of your life, but we can tell when a vibe is forced. We can tell when the person is coming from, I gotta get what I don't from you. I gotta get something from you. I am here to say these words so I could get something from you that I perceive myself to not have, which is only a perception, right? It's only a perception. But it feels, you move with such freedom when you don't feel like you need anything from someone because you feel like you already have it. We'll talk a little bit more about that. But when you're coming from the I don't need anything, everything will be taken care of anyway, you can free flow. You don't have to strategize. You don't have to sit down and, okay, if I can just come up with this and do this and that. I remember when I was a marketing and sales coach, my strategy for how I'm going to be successful was I'm going to hire 7-figure mentors. That's my strategy. I'm going to pay the $20,000 for their program. I'm going to pay the $15,000. I'm going to pay the $10,000 for their program, because if I'm hanging out with somebody who makes 7 figures, I for damn sure going to learn how to make multiple 6, right? That was my strategy, right? I went through that strategy. Of course, you get on the other side and you go, oh, damn, you working 7 days a week. Like, I don't know if I want to work 7 days a week. I thought you said this was easy. Of course, the marketing message is 6 easy ways to make blah, 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 right? That's always the marketing message. And then you sign up for the program and you get behind the scenes and they go, well, if it were easy, everybody would be doing it. You know? And you're like, wait, that wasn't the marketing message that I bought into. Marketing. But that was my strategy, right? My strategy was hire 7-figure mentors, and I'll get something from them that gets me what I want, right? That whole getting flavor can be very heavy. So that's another example of how we're in the mindset and in the vibe of I don't have it yet, therefore I have to strategize in order to get something that I don't have. So now let's move into the 6 possibilities. And I'll offer this more of as I mentioned in my email, a buffet of potentials. I don't see myself as having the answer for how to end the cycle. And honestly, I don't see myself that way. And I don't see what I'm sharing with you in that way either. I feel like I can share from my experiences things that really helped me to move through those types of experiences and continues to help me to move through those types of experiences. And I don't feel like what I'm sharing with you today is the answer. I feel like what I'm sharing with you today is just things to explore, possibilities to explore, potentials to explore. You may resonate with some of it, you may not resonate with some of it. It doesn't matter to me. I'm just here to offer the best I can in terms of what may be helpful to each of you. So possibility or potential number 1, placing our focus behind the scenes. So typically, I'll give an example or analogy. In the moment that, let's just say you're a business owner and you're wanting more clients, right, for your business to be more lucrative, more successful. In the moment that you are sitting in your home office going, I haven't had a new client in X number of days, weeks, months, whatever. In that very moment, behind the scenes of your life movie, somebody's on your website. Somebody's about to sign up. Somebody is clicking around trying to see what's on your website, trying to buy something from you, right? But there you are in your office, you're completely unaware of what's happening behind the scenes. You're completely unaware what is being universally orchestrated behind the scenes. All you know is, this is my business bank account and nobody's putting money in it in the form of clients, you know? But while you're noticing the absence of that thing, the presence of that thing is swirling, right? In your vibrational vicinity. You're unaware of that. You're completely unaware that somebody's on your website right now browsing, or one of your clients, in that very moment that you're worried about where you're going to get more clients, one of your clients is telling someone else about your product or service. And that person is becoming very curious and they're like, oh, really? Are they really good? Oh yeah, they're really good. They've been doing this for me for so long. They're really amazing at it. You are completely blind to that universal orchestration happening behind the scenes. So one of the ways in which you can potentially come out of that cycle of noticing it's not here yet is to notice more of what's behind the scenes. What I mean by that is conjure up in your mind, wait, right now somebody's probably on my website. Somebody's probably clicking through that video that I put out there. somebody's watching the video that I put out there. One of my clients may be telling somebody about that. It's a story you're making up in your mind, but it's way more in alignment with the experience that you want to have. So why not daydream about the fact that that's probably happening behind the scenes? More often than not, it is. You know, there are people, if you have a website, if you have videos out there, there's somebody always clicking. Somebody's always clicking to see what you got, right? Go to my website right now, there's nothing to buy. I took everything down. But if you have a website and there's things to buy, people are probably clicking. They're looking at the descriptions. There's stuff that, you know, they're browsing through while you're focused on what's not present. So a soft and gentle way is, you know, as the mind says, look at what's not here yet, you know, in any of those examples that I shared earlier, you can go, yeah, but what if somebody's on my website right now? What if somebody is looking up my phone number wanting to contact me about this service that I offer? What if somebody's telling somebody about that, right? And you go down that what if, you've drifted out of the focus on its absence, and now you're like focused on potentials, right? And in truth, there is always universal orchestration happening behind the scenes. The universe is always conspiring on our behalf. Your divine team is always conspiring on your behalf. There's things being orchestrated all the time. But if we're not able to perceive it, it cannot become our experience. So the daydreaming of it, the what ifing of, oh, what if this happens? What if that happens? What if somebody is telling somebody right now? What if they tell a lot of other people? What if somebody's actually talking about me in a room full of 20 people right now and I'm not even aware of it? You know, they might come to my website or, you know, whatever. While you are daydreaming and what ifing in the direction of what is preferred, you are way more in alignment with what is being universally orchestrated on your behalf. So that's one way in which you can exit that frequency of it's not here yet. A second way is, I don't think I've ever talked about this in this way, but a second way is deciding or choosing where you're taking your cues from. And you can take your cues from a few different places, and I'll go through that in a second. But let's first talk about how so it's more what we're taking our cues from for the emotions and the perceptions that we're sort of letting ourselves be led into, right? So if we understand our emotions, right, it's our vibrational cue as to where we are, right? Where we are vibrationally, you can very easily know by how you're feeling and what your emotions are. But your emotions are triggered by thoughts or beliefs, but beliefs are really just thoughts we keep thinking over and over and over. So it's pretty much the same as thoughts. It's now hardwired because we have thought about them so many times. But thoughts are triggered by ideas and perceptions that come into our minds, right? It's like something lands and we don't create any space between the thought landing and our moving in the direction of the thought oftentimes. So the thought comes up and we just go, like the thought comes up and says, oh, I've been having a hard time getting clients. And then your mind just expands that story. Yeah, it's been 6 months since I even had a client. It's been whatever, right? The thought came into your mind, but the more aware that you can become that the thought showed up, the more we are able to look at the thought and decide whether we're going to dance with that thought or not. But for a lot of people, especially when those thoughts have become beliefs, it feels automatic. It's like, oh, I don't have any money, and you're like into the story, like instantly. There's no space between the thought arising and you deciding, am I going to dance with that thought or am I going to choose something else to focus my attention on? So the emotional state that we're in when we're feeling like it's not here yet starts with a thought, right? It always starts with a thought. Hey, have you noticed it's not here yet? Right? That's the thought. In whatever form it shows up, strategizing, it's been too long, it's been years, everything I've tried isn't working. Any of those things, any of those flavors happens as a thought first. We have to decide, am I going to take my emotional cues from that thought that's showing up, or am I going to take my emotional cues from something else? So the thought shows up, and the less aware that we have, the less aware we are that the thought is now present, the more automatic our response to the thought, right? So the thought shows up and says, hey, there's only $12 in your bank account. Instantly worry starts. We start to feel worried. We start to feel anxious. We're like, oh my God, and there's all these other bills coming. And it's like, we don't even notice that angst and worry was triggered by a thought that showed up. And we said, yes, I'm going to go. Like the thought is showing up, and the thought is going, that's what the thought is doing. The thought is going, hey, you want to come hang out with me? And we are often oblivious to that cue. We think the thought shows up, I'm instantly going to worry. But the thought can show up and you go, true, there is $12 in my bank account, but I'm going to focus my attention on other things. Like something's going to happen. Something's going to happen and money's going to come in some way, shape, or form. I mean, you can turn your attention that way rather than there's only $12. Oh my God, what's going to happen? I don't know what's going to happen. Am I going to lose my apartment? Am I going to, right? That thought showed up first before all the worry and the angst started, right? That was the trigger. The thought was the trigger. But when the trigger shows up, you can decide if you are aware. So you can become far more aware when the thought shows up, right? That it's a trigger going, want to dance? Every time I do that, Milo's like, my dog Milo's next to me. But every time it shows up and says, hey, want to worry? There's something to worry about. There's only $12 in your bank account. You can go, no, that's not the cue that I'm taking today. I'm not taking my cues from worrisome thoughts. That's not where I'm taking my cues from right now. You can take your cues from what I just shared earlier. What's happening behind the scenes though? Let me think about that. Somebody might be on my website right now. Somebody's probably giving my phone number to somebody else right now. Somebody, you can totally say, no, thanks, but no, I'm not opening the door to this right now. So knowing where you're taking your cues from, understanding that thoughts are showing up as a trigger saying, do you want to take your cues in life from me? Do you want me to be your cue as to how you're feeling right now? So we can take our cues from three things. Well, there's probably more, but I'll go for three now. From our circumstances, from a potential reality that lights us up, very much like what I just shared earlier. What if somebody's on my website? What if the universe is already orchestrating somebody? What if somebody's thinking about me right now and I don't even know they're thinking about me, right? So we can take our cues from potential realities that lights us up, right, in a positive way. And the third one we don't often think of, because I feel like we say we know it, but we don't live like we know it, and that is the awareness that we are the abundance that we seek. So let me go over that again. We can take our cues, meaning what's queuing up my next emotional state of being. Am I taking the way that I'm feeling about my life, my circumstances, my job, my business, my love life, my whatever? Am I taking my cues from what is in terms of, the circumstances that are playing out? Am I taking my cues from a potential reality that lights me up, right? A possibility, a potential that's in the direction of what I truly want to experience? Or am I taking my cues from just this deep awareness that I am the abundance that I seek, that there is no separation between me and the source that is within me. We say that we believe that there's no separation between us and the source that's within us, but we're not taking our cues from that truth. We're often not taking our cues from that truth. The video that I last put out was on contemplation and how I deeply contemplate to experience transformation. And one of my deep contemplations is there's a source within me. This is the same source that created all these trees that I'm looking at, the clouds in the sky, the sun, the moon, the stars, that's part of me. So if that's part of me, that's part of me. That's part of me. Wait, no, that's not just part of me. That's the greater part of me. That's mostly who I am, is that which created all of the abundance around me in the form of trees, nature, all these different things. So if the greater part of me is that which created all of the abundance and all of that, then I have access to limitless abundance always. That's what's true, is I have access to limitless abundance in many different forms, always. That's always been true. And if you sit and really deeply contemplate that, it becomes you. After a while, it becomes the way you think. Just like when you sit and think about worrisome thoughts, you're just always worried and anxious. When you think thoughts like that and deeply ponder, well, what does that mean? I remember when I was out in nature contemplating that, my higher self said, now feel what source feels like as this abundant creator of all things. Feel what source feels like. And that overwhelmed me to the point where I started crying. Feel what source feels like. Feel what the source within you feels like. Feel it. Feel what source feels like. And everything in my world disappeared. And I just felt this overwhelming sense of abundance. It just overwhelmed me. Nothing that was in my physical reality felt anywhere near as real as feeling what source feels like. Right? Like source is moving through this planet, through you and others, and just through nature, whatever, enjoying the abundance of all things. And I was just feeling what source felt. And I just felt so lifted out of my body. I was like, I couldn't, like, there was a point in time when I was feeling it so deeply that I started to go, it was like I couldn't contain how much abundance was accessible. Always, always, for all of us, right? So possibility number 2, choosing what we are taking our cues from in terms of what is informing our state of being, what is informing our emotions, what's informing how we feel, what's informing our predominant perception. It comes from where we're choosing to take our cues from. Is it from your circumstances? Is it from a potential reality that lights you up? Or simply from the awareness that you are the abundance that you seek? So that's possibility number 2. Possibility number 3. We've talked about this before, choosing what we place our confidence and sense of security within. Something that I haven't talked about before, but we'll talk about 2 different places, right? We can put our faith and trust in process and experiences so heavily that we think that's the solution, right? For me, process is just a bridge. when we're first coming into the knowing of the law of attraction and we can create our own reality, and that which we focus upon is always expanding in our experience. When we come into the awareness of that, it's so new to us that we tend to be drawn to processes, and I often offer many different processes as well. We tend to be drawn to processes, but we're so drawn to them that we think that's what creates our reality, not realizing process is just a bridge. Process and is just a way to tune up our vibration, a way to alter our state of being, a way to redirect the mind, right? A way to create a bridge between our doubtful thoughts and our skeptical thoughts and our belief in lack and all these different things. It's a bridge between all of that, right? Where we are behind the veil of forgetfulness. Process is a bridge between that and the awareness of who we truly are. But we can become so dependent on process that we think that's the answer. And that's one of the reasons, what I shared earlier when I talked about when we feel like, I really need to know what else to try. Remember I said that earlier? Let's stick a pin in that. When we're in the place of, I really need to know what else to try, we're in the place of, I need a process to depend upon, something that won't fail me, something that will get me what I perceive to not have yet, right? And the perception of it's not here yet is only a perception. So we always want to know what else to try because we're looking for a sense of security. Will this process not fail me? If I do this so many times, tell me what to do in order to get what I don't have. I need to get something I don't have, and I need something to do in order to get it, right? So we become dependent on the process in order to get what we don't have, because we perceive process as the gateway to getting it. When process is really a bridge to reminding us that we are that which we seek. So when the process, quote unquote, works, instead of going, oh, it's the process that created this outcome for me, the truth is the process changed you vibrationally, and your vibrational change is what caused the outcome. But we forget that part. We forget it's my vibrational state of being that created the outcome, and we keep going back to process. Now, you can use process for the rest of your life. There's nothing inherently wrong with that. If it makes you feel good, hey, go ahead and keep using it. But at some point, we can become aware that, oh, that was just a bridge to help me understand that the vibration that I am pulsing out is what's creating my reality, right? I don't use process much at all anymore. Right now, I'm just more in love with remembering who I am. I'm really more in love with tuning in to a state of awareness, which can happen through a process. Like contemplation is a process. But at some point it stops being a process and it's just an awareness that overtakes you. It's just an awareness that overtakes you. Like it begins with deep contemplation, but then this awareness, it becomes who you are, and it's less of a process, if that makes any sense. And this is where I was when I was doing all of those videos on my old YouTube channel regarding the law of attraction. And then one day I woke up and I was like, oh, so law of attraction is it's kind of like gravity. It's like the way the world works. And I wasn't as excited about talking about the law of attraction over and over and doing all these videos about it, because for me, it just settled into my beingness. And I'm just constantly aware that that which I focus upon becomes my reality. And it's sort of my natural state of being. And I'm in moment to moment, hour to hour, I'm sort of aware. So I'm moving in that awareness. And it doesn't have to be this thing that I need to remember during the day, this thing that I need to practice during the day. It just sort of is the way that I flow. Even the experience of visualizing isn't something I feel like I need to set aside time to do, like, scripting and writing intentions. Those are all useful. I would say keep doing them until you feel like you don't need them anymore. But they're all a bridge. What happens for me in terms of visualization is visualization for me now, in the way that I experience it today, is it's a thought that sort of wafts into my experience. It's not something that I go, oh, I need to go visualize. I will be sitting out in nature and all of a sudden I am daydreaming about something. So without intending to go there, my mind just does, So it's not something that I set aside time to do, although there was a point in my life, as you know from the videos that I've shared, where I was writing down what I wanted to experience every day, and I did it for about a year. Or I would sit down and visualize something, and or I would write down my story in past tense. I would do that, but I don't. That's not how I predominantly live. It's just sort of it just sort of happens. It's like the visualization comes to me rather than me choosing it, as I did in the past, if that makes any sense. But the interesting thing about doing process is that we're often doing it from the place of lack. We're like, I have to gravitate and grab onto this process because I don't have something. And if we're constantly doing it from the place of I don't have it, it typically isn't quote unquote working to move us in the direction of in the direction of becoming the frequency of that which is preferred. We're constantly feeling like I have to do this thing to get what I don't have. And for as long as we have that perception at play, I have to get what I don't have. For as long as we have that perception at play, we're constantly dabbling in the I don't have it yet. I have to get something from someplace else because I don't have it. I have to get someplace, I have to go get this, I have to go do this because I don't have it. Right. And we're in the heavy getting vibe. I have to get something because I don't have it. I have to get something because I don't have it. And I have to get it through this process because I don't have it. Can you tell me what to do to get what I don't have? And the minute we're constantly in the vibration of asking that, how do I get what I don't have? Show me, can you go to spirit that what do I need to do to get what I don't have? At some point, life is calling us to wake up to the truth that we already have it. It's kind of like that video that I did. Those who seek the light are merely covering their eyes. Sometimes we cover our eyes with process because we feel that's the key. I'm not the key. The process is the key. And for as long as we believe that the process is the key, we're covering our eyes. We're not seeing that we're it, right? The process is the bridge to taking us back to our true selves. So placing our confidence and security in process is another way. No longer placing our confidence and security in process is one way to end the cycle as well, because we start to realize I'm it. The process isn't it. I can use the process as a bridge. I can use the process as a tool, but I'm it. I'm not doing the process to get something. I'm doing the process to remind myself of who I am. And then the process sort of falls away. Another dependency in terms of what we place our sense of security in is experiences. Have you ever had yourself say, I was feeling so good, and then now I'm not. Therefore, it's gone. The manifestation of the thing that I thought I had, it left when the experience left. We're placing our sense of security in experience. The thing is, processes are temporal, right? You do them, you feel good, you don't do them, it sort of piddles out, right? You do them, you feel good, you stop, it piddles out, right? Until you realize, oh, this is a bridge to me permanently being in the place of the awareness of who I truly am. Experience is the same thing. Happened to me just the other day. Because I'm in love with these deep contemplative experiences now, I had this way out of the worldly sort of, I'm getting chills even thinking about it, deep contemplative experience where I just left. I didn't even, Allison didn't even exist. And so that happened one day under a tree. And of course, the next day, I'm like, I could go under the tree, have that experience again, because that felt so good, right? And it was very clear that my higher self, my divine team, my inner being was going, you don't have to chase experiences. Experiences are innately temporal. You have them and then they piddle out. You know, we've all had spiritual highs. We're like, oh my God, I'm floating on air. I'm so blissful. I'm like, oh my God. Oh my God. I'm so blissful. I love the world. I love everything. It's like, right? You're so there, right? You're having something that you practiced and it caused that experience to come up. And then the experience just piddles out, right? But when we place our sense of security in an experience that we had, some spiritual experience that we had, we're more apt to experience disappointment, and it feels like it's not here yet, right? That whole it's not here yet cycles back around because why? The experience, which by the way is innately temporal, disappeared. Right? It's like I was feeling so good, I was feeling so blissful, I was feeling so whatever, right? And we think that experience that I had, that feeling good experience, that's the answer. That spiritual high that I got into, that was the answer. That spiritual spiritual thing that just happened, that if I can just hold on to that every day, all day, then I'll be okay. But experiences are temporal, they're innately temporal. So if you're holding on to one experience to help you feel good about life itself or whatever, or feel good about manifesting a lover, or feel good about manifesting money, it's like, oh, I had this experience that millions of dollars came to me and it felt so good. I want to go back to that experience because I know when I'm in that experience, money's coming to me, right? So we're dependent on the experience. Or I had this experience and my body just felt so good. So the energy was just flowing and everything felt perfect and I didn't feel sick in my body anymore. And then that experience went away and I feel lost now. The experience isn't here. We placed our sense of security in something temporal, which is an experience. Now, when we move into the awareness of who we truly are, experiences can come and go, but this awareness is just settled. It's like, whether I feel that high or I don't feel that high, whether my body feels good or my body feels not good, whether the lover is here or the lover is gone, whether there's $12 in my bank account or hundreds of thousands in my bank account, that awareness, that awareness that I am not separate from source is always present, regardless of life experiences coming and going. That awareness that I am not separate from source is ever present. So when we're able to let go of process and experiences as the thing that gets us what we don't have, and we realize, wait, no, I am it. I'm it. It's like I'm not separate from the abundance that I seek, because the greater part of me is source, and I'm not separate from source. And source is the same energy that hung the planets in orbit, that allows trees to grow, that created the clouds, the sky, the universe. It's like, that's who I am. Wait, wait, wait. Hang on, hang on. That's who I am. That's who I've always been. What? What's all these little things that I keep trying to grab onto? None of those things are who I truly am. And when you move into that, then you're being informed. Your sense of security is coming from something that is forever permanent. It's not temporal. So let's move into possibility number 3, crossing the bridge into what is permanent. So it's not an experience that comes and goes. It's an awareness that's just present. It's an awareness that's always present. The body may be sick, but the awareness is present. The bank account may be empty, present, still present. The lover's here, the lover's not here, still present. The house that I want to live in, the house I don't, still present. Where I want to live, where I don't want to live, still present. This awareness is permanent. Why is it permanent? It's who you are. The experiences are not who you are. They're just temporal. The processes are not who you are. It's just temporal. But when you become aware of the truth of who you are, when you become aware of the permanent state of not being separate from the source within you, when that is your go-to, that's unchanging. That is 100% unchanging. When we become aware that the source within us is permanently present, when that, I came to a point in my life experience where manifesting this or that became, and I talked about this when I did the Ultimate Manifestation video playlist on my YouTube channel. I got to the place where what I wanted more than anything I could ever name or point to was to live in the awareness of the truth of who I am, to live in that awareness. Is there ebb and flow? Yes. Do I still experience the ups and downs of life? Yes. Do I still have emotions that come and go? Yes. Sadness, frustration, disappointment. Yes, they come and go. But in the backdrop of my life is this continuous awareness that lifts me up every single time, lifts me out of whatever life throws at me. And that's what led to I'm invincible. I'll always bounce back. Why am I always bouncing back? Not because I in my physical skin is an invincible bounce backy kind of person, but I bounce back because this awareness keeps lighting up within me. It goes back to those who seek the light are merely covering their eyes. And once you decide, I'm not going to cover my eyes, I'm going to see, I'm going to choose to see. I'm going to choose to see that I'm not separate from the source within me. And that's my choice. That's my predominant choice in life. That's my predominant choice. Regardless of what's happening, that's my predominant choice. Regardless of how my body feels or doesn't feel, that's my predominant choice. Regardless of whether the money's flowing, is not flowing, it's my predominant choice. I choose to see I am not separate from the source within me. Therefore, if my bank account is yelling at me saying I'm only $12, I am still the abundance that I seek because I am not separate from the source within me. If I'm not separate from the source within me, how the hell can I not be abundant? Source is innately abundant. That's the predominant part of who you are. That is who you are. It's who you are when you're not covering your eyes. It's who you are. It's who you are. How can someone who is walking this planet in the awareness that they are not separate from source feel lack? If you feel it at all, you instantly know that's an illusion. It's not the truth. You instantly know it's not the truth. This is not the truth. The truth is I am one with that which hung the planets in orbit. And if I am one, if there's no separation between me and that which hung the planets in orbit, how in the world can I be anything less than abundant? There's a perception of abundance. My bank account may look like it's missing money or it's less than. That's just an illusion. That's just an illusion. I know that I am one with the abundance that is within me. I am one with the source that is within me. I am one with source energy. I am one with that which hung the planets in orbit. I am one with that which created this entire planet, this universe. I am one with that. There is no separation between me and that. Therefore, how can I be lacking anything? Anything that shows me that I'm lacking is just the dream. It's just the illusion. And at some point, we have to decide, I choose truth over illusion. At some point, that has to be the decision. And when that becomes a decision, it doesn't matter what's happening in life. You wake up and the bank account looks kind of empty. You go, that's just an illusion for someone who is innately abundant. And the more you move in that energy, all of a sudden the bank account starts filling up without you needing to practice or process it. No, you can keep doing those things if you feel, you have to know where you are, right? If you feel like, Allison, I need to keep doing the process because that's what keeps me remembering the truth of who I am, then keep doing the process, it's fine. But at some point, you're no longer informed by the circumstance. You're no longer informed by the bank account. You're no longer taking your cues from the bank account. You're no longer taking your cues from the way your mother is talking to you. You're one with the harmony that source is. So you know if this relationship feels like it's contentious or breaking down, whether it's with a mother, brother, sister, whatever, I am one with the love that I am. I am one with harmony. I am one with source. So as this relationship looks like it's contentious, I am still one with the source that is within me. Therefore, I am one with harmony. I'm one with harmony. If I'm one with harmony, this relationship that I keep looking at is no longer informing how I feel about this other aspect of source. And it changes how I feel toward the person. If I am one with source, then whether the lover is present or not, I am love. I feel love. I am overwhelmed with love because I am one with that which is love. Therefore, lover is optional. I am love. I feel love all the time. So I'm not looking for love in all the wrong places. I'm not looking for love in a lover. I am love. I feel love. I wake up every day and I feel love. I wake up every day and I just feel so loved. I feel so full. I feel so full that I don't need it from anybody else. I am it. Whether the lover is present or absent, I am one with that which is love. Therefore, how can I be looking outside myself trying to get what I already am? I am already love. I am already abundance. I am already harmony. I don't have to go get that anywhere else. I am that. And when you can flow from the place where you are that, that becomes your permanent source of sense of security. It becomes your permanent place that from which you are taking your cues in life. It's not all these things that are out there anymore. I'm taking my cues from who I am. There's a beautiful part of A Course in Miracles that says, enlightenment is not a change at all. It is merely a recognition. So everything that I'm sharing with you today is not like I got to work toward that. It's just I got to uncover my eyes. I have to recognize who I am, what my identity truly is. That was possibility number Wait, what was that? I was 4. I have them mismarked. As possibility number 4 is crossing the bridge into what is permanent. 2, 3, 4. Okay. Possibility number 5 is cultivating that ongoing awareness of what is permanent. So now we're in the place where, okay, I'm no longer putting my sense of security in a process. I'm no longer putting my sense of security in the impermanent experiences that come and go, whether they're spiritual highs or not. I'm putting my sense of security in what I know that I am, in the awareness of who I truly am, right? How do you cultivate that ongoing awareness of what is permanent? There's no one way, as I always say. For me right now, deep contemplation is playing a huge role in that. You know, in the past, I used to deeply contemplate things I want, right? That was where I spent deep contemplative time, right? The video titled The Memory is an example of that. But now I'm deeply contemplating who I am and how I am as source, and that I am not separated from source. That's a deep contemplation for me. I could sit with that for 60 minutes straight. And I am in a totally different zone in deeply contemplating that. So that's one way. Another way, I often refer to it as becoming the cameraman in your life, right? Some people call it witness consciousness. Some people call it becoming an observer. I refer to it as being the cameraman because it reminds me that this whole life is just a skit, a movie, you know, just roles that I'm playing out. And the cameraman's behind me all the time, 24/7, right? What does it feel like to be the cameraman? So, and you can do this all day long, right? You can really make life your spiritual practice. So you go to work, you park your car, and you have the thought, cameraman's behind me. When you have that thought, you see yourself parking the car, you see yourself locking the door, you see yourself walking into your place of work or whatever, or into your house, whatever. You see yourself doing those things because you're the cameraman now. You're not you, you're the cameraman. What starts to happen is you live in a state of awareness where you're watching your life unfold, which is where your higher self is. Your higher self is in a neutral state watching your life unfold. Now, if you become the cameraman and judgment starts to come up, it's not the cameraman anymore, it's your mind, right? Like if you're watching yourself have an emotional moment, anger or whatever, and you go to the cameraman, right? All of a sudden you start feeling judgment toward yourself because you're having that. You've left the cameraman status. The cameraman is just capturing the movie. You know, cameraman is just watching what's happening completely neutrally. When you go into self-judgment or self-condemnation, you're back in your mind, and your mind is analyzing things. Cameraman is just watching you have this experience with no judgment, no thought at all. It's just neutrally and curiously with the camera on going, okay, there I am having this moment of anger. And the more we're able to do that during the day, the more awake we stay, right? The more we almost move through the day in this state of awareness, because we're constantly, and you can start doing it by attaching the cameraman to different activities you do during the day. Like each time you change activities, you can activate the cameraman watching you change activities, from talking to somebody to going to make a phone call. Oh, now the cameraman is watching me make a phone call, you know, and you just have this ongoing cameraman, right? Watching you do life. Whenever you're in the state where you're watching, you're observing yourself do and be things, you're in that neutral cameraman state where you're in the observer state. You're in the, what they call witness consciousness state, where you're not engrossed in the role. You're watching the role play out. I remember when I was dating my second husband and we went to the movies for the first time, he's one of those people who could watch a movie and he'll be having a conversation about the movie while the movie's happening. I'm not. I leave the theater and I go into the movie. So the first time we went to the movies together, he was like, oh, that's really funny, right? And he'd be trying to talk to me and I'm like stoic because I'm in the movie. I have left the movie theater. I am in the plot. And so after the movie got done, he was like, were you mad at me or something? And I'm like, what? He's like, I was talking to you while the movie was going on and you just stayed like in this kind of like you were mad at me were you mad at that I was talking in a movie? I wasn't even aware the man was talking. I was so involved in the movie. And that's how I am if I'm watching a movie. I don't watch many movies anymore because I just don't enjoy the plot line is always drag you through all kinds of negative emotions and then it ends in a happy state, and I just don't like being dragged through. I don't like my emotions being pulled through the movie, so I don't really watch movies at all anymore. But that's how life is, right? We can get so engrossed in a movie that we forget that we could also watch the movie, right? It's like you're so into the movie, you're so engrossed, it's so intoxicating that you are never pulling back. But if you develop a practice of always pulling back during the day, like, oh, now it's time for lunch. Ooh, become the cameraman, right? Or now it's time to leave this meeting. Ooh, become the cameraman. Watch myself leave this meeting, okay? If you drive Uber, for example, you just dropped off one person. Ooh, become the cameraman. Now nobody's in my car. Like, what just happened in that slice of time where that person was in my car? And then what conversation, so you become the watcher and the observer more often than not. And that's one way in which you can cultivate an ongoing awareness of your permanent state of being one with the source that is within you, because source is just witnessing what's happening in your life with curiosity. There's no judgment. There's just, oh, look at this is happening, right, in your life. It helps you also to identify as source. So one of the ways in which I don't get pulled into the movie called Life as much is because I have less identification with my role as Allison, and I have more identification with the truth that I am one with the source within me. So when you're really identified with your role, you need for things to go well in that role, right? You identify as the wife of whoever. Now you're so engrossed in that role. The daughter of, and now you're so engrossed in that role. The sister of, and oh, you're so engrossed in that role. How it's supposed to play out and all these different things, right? But when you're able to pull out often and go, that's just a role I'm playing. That's just a role I'm playing. That's not who I am. That's just a role that I'm playing. When you identify as source energy versus identifying as the human vessel in any experience, you begin to see the experience in a very different way. And when you become the observer of the experience rather than being all riddled up in the experience, you pull out and you go, whoa, let me get the cameraman angle here for a second. Let me just watch how I'm moving through this experience. Let me just watch how I'm being while the bank account is low. Let me just watch how I'm being while my body is not doing well. Let me just watch how I'm doing while my lover's not giving me any attention. You know what I mean? Let me just watch. Let me just watch what's going on here, right? And that allows us to use all of life, because we like to meditate, right? Let me set aside a time to meditate so I can come back to my place of peace. God, this was a terrible day. Just need to come back to my place of peace. Let me meditate, right? Which is fine, but you can use every moment during the day as your spiritual practice. You can use every moment during the day as an opportunity to become the observer, right? To be in the observer role, to be in that witness consciousness mode, to be the cameraman, because the cameraman is neutral and at peace. He's just capturing the movie. You know what I mean? Just capturing the movie. And the more you can do that during the day, just pause. What just happened there? Okay. And it's not reflecting on the past as much as it's what's going on now in this moment. When I'm doing the witnessing, it's more what's happening with me now. Like I'll be in the middle of something and I'll just Stop. Here I am with all these people in a Zoom meeting talking about stuff. This is interesting. And all of you can do that now. Here I am in this Zoom room with Allison on screen. Watch you, watch me. When you watch yourself, watch me, all of a sudden you feel the energy disappear from the engagement with the experience, and there's a lightness that replaces it when you are just watching. It's like, oh, I'm worried about the bill, worried about, oh, watch me worried about the bill. And when you become the observer of you worried about the bill, it's like the energy gets pulled out of the moment, and it's just this lightness that you become very present, and the lightness is just instantly comes in. So possibility number 5, cultivating an ongoing awareness of what is permanent. So we talked about in that number 5, deep contemplation, becoming the cameraman, the witness, the observer, etc. And one more thing I wanted to add is just becoming more and more aware of when that thought knocks. Instead of, oh, boom, right? Going straight with the thought. Create some space between the thought arising. Takes practice if you're constantly always going with the worrisome thoughts, right? Oh, thought is knocking. Wait a second. Let me just become present to the fact that this thought is arising before I decide whether I'm going to dance with the thought or not. You can say, no, you come up a lot, I notice, but I'm not going to dance with you in this moment. I'm going to choose a different thought to dance with, or a different awareness to be with, right? When you get into that awareness of what is permanent, you can go back to that and go, and I'm one with source. There's no separation between me and source. If there's no separation between me and source, what I'm seeing in my bank account is irrelevant, because I am abundance. I am one with source. I am one with source. I am one with well-being. And you go into that contemplation in a deep way, and the bank account becomes less and less worrisome when you are identified with the truth of who you are versus the skit and the illusion of who you are not, right? So creating space between the illusion and what is true, what the mind is burping up and what is true. When you're able to create more space between that, you're able to choose truth more often than you choose what the mind is telling you. So just be aware of that as well. The last one, possibility number 6. Possibility number 6 is living a surrendered life experience. What I'm going to do right now is read something to you. These didn't come from me, but it represented so perfectly what I wanted to share here today. I'm like, why not just read it? And then I'll share with you where it came from. So possibility number 6, living a surrendered life experience. There is a perception to live by that makes life incredibly easy, and it is this: the world is unfolding and I get to experience it. You wake up and you are grateful, honored to just be alive, and celebrating that you get to live life. You wake up each day, and the moment you open your eyes, you say with excitement, wow, I'm back. I get to live another day, sitting on a tiny piece of dirt spinning in the middle of nowhere in outer space. I can't wait to see what happens. You do the best you can to bring the best you have to the moment unfolding in front of you. Trust that all of life is a gift, and it will always lead you without you trying to figure things out. Simply follow the lead. Will it always be good? There's no good or bad. You simply interact with what is unfolding in front of you in a loving and honorable way, in the best way that you can. There is absolutely no emotional suffering, tension, or anxiety in that experience of life. There is a perception to live by that makes life incredibly difficult, and it is this. The world and life is unfolding, and I am going to make up in my mind what it needs to be. Everything is upsetting because it's not the way that I made up in my mind. We fight with life from the moment we wake up to the moment we go to bed. We live in a state of resistance to what is happening and always wanting it to be different in some way. I can only be okay if life happens the way that I made up in my mind. And I'll always be unhappy and dissatisfied if it doesn't happen that way. I made up in my mind how I wanted the weather to be, and I get upset if it's not the way I want it. I made up in my mind that other people should text me back or email me back within a certain amount of time, and I get upset with them when they don't. I made up in my mind that love comes through a wife, a husband, a lover, and I get upset when I don't get one. I made up in my mind who and how my lover, my friend, my mother, brother, sister is supposed to be to me, and I get upset when they're not what I had in my mind. I made up in my mind how and when money is supposed to come to me, and I get upset when it doesn't happen that way. I made up in my mind how and when my healing is supposed to happen, and I get upset when it doesn't happen that way. I made up in my mind that everyone should like me, accept me, and support me, and I get upset when they don't. There is endless emotional suffering and tension and anxiety in that life, in that experience of life. Yet, if we can only see that the world is unfolding and we get the privilege of experiencing it. When was the last time you said, wow, or thank you, or oh my gosh, for the privilege of getting to see life unfold in front of you, for getting to interact with life? More often than not, we say thank you only when we get what we want. Maybe we can become more appreciative that we even exist, that we are here having experiences. What if every moment that unfolds in front of you is better off because it did? You would make every moment more honorable and therefore more beautiful. When you interact with the moment in front of you in a way that is honored and lifted higher, life itself is lifted higher. And it is experienced as becoming more and more beautiful. That came from a series of videos by Michael Singer, author of The Untethered Soul and The Surrender Experiment. Caveat about Michael Singer, he does not believe in the law of attraction. He does not believe that we create our own reality. He believes life is just unfolding and just chill out and be with life. And he also believes that having a desire or a preference equals mental and emotional misery. I agree with Michael Singer in this way. Most of the time, when we conjure up a desire, we become attached to it. Even when we're trying really hard to not be attached to it, we become attached to it. Therefore, it does present disappointment and misery, and it hasn't happened yet, right? Because we made up in our mind the way life is supposed to be, and we become attached to it. Therefore, we experience a lot of mental and emotional misery because of it. He and I will agree to disagree on the presence of the law of attraction, whether it's a law or not. I don't believe that the presence of a desire equals misery. I believe attachment to desire equals misery. And I would agree with him that most of the time we have a desire, we form an attachment to it. It's not a fun, interesting, optional thing. It's, I have to have this. And we always open ourselves up for mental and emotional misery if the desire is something we feel like we have to experience. And from my experience and just chatting with people, it's really hard to conjure up a desire and let it go. In a recent YouTube short, I was saying ride the vibe and let go of the vision, because when we're holding on to the vision, that is where we experience mental and emotional misery. Yet, I will say there's a flavor of grace and freedom from the experience that he described. The world is unfolding in front of you, and you get to experience it. You do the best you can to bring the best you have to the moment that's unfolding in front of you. Trust that all of life is a gift, and it will always lead you without you trying to figure things out. Simply follow the lead. There is no good or bad. You simply interact with what is unfolding in front of you in a loving and honorable way, in the best way that you can. We don't always have to be trying to visualize something we don't have yet, right? We don't always have to be trying to manifest shit. For the most part, interacting with the life that's unfolding with one in front of you is sufficient. You know, use the practices if you feel like you are not yet in the place where it becomes you. You know, it's fine. But we don't always have to be trying to get someplace else. You know, the it hasn't happened yet cycle is because we're constantly trying to get someplace else that we're not. And we're always in this getting mode. I need to get more of what I don't have yet. I need to get it. I need to get more. And when we're there, we're always in some degree of emotional turmoil, in some degree of what Michael Singer calls mental and emotional disturbance. You know, when I was listening to him, I started paying very close attention to how much disturbance I had in my life. It's like, is he right? Am I like always disturbed about one thing or another? And I started paying attention to myself in a single day. And it's like, I walk into the store, I'm mentally disturbed that the cart that I pulled is one with a wheel. Why don't they just take this out of this? Why is this there? You know, and I'm like, in the moment, I am mentally and emotionally disturbed. I get in a line and the cashier seems to not really know how to do things fast. And I'm like, I got somewhere to be, right? Emotional disturbance. You're never like at peace with the moment and unfolding in front of you. There's always like this undercurrent of contention with what is. And I never noticed that about myself until I started, just especially like the weather. Why is it raining today? I was going to do so and so. It's so hot out. I can't do so and so. It's so cold out. I can't do so. There's always this undercurrent of mental disturbance and emotional disturbance, rather than it's hot out and that's what's unfolding in front of me right now, and I get to experience it. That's a privilege. And you just interact with the moment that's unfolding in front of you. Yes, I know your bank account is $12 and you've got $500 worth of bills, but would it serve you better to simply interact with the moment in front of you, or would it serve you better to be worried and anxious about it? So you look at the $12 and you go, this is what's unfolding in front of me right now. I can get a bag of potatoes for $3. That could carry me through the week. I could cook potatoes in multiple different ways. And then from that place of peace, not fighting with the moment that's unfolding in front of you, you're more open for spirit to speak to you and to give you guidance into what's next regarding this circumstance, because you're not fighting with the moment in front of you. Your body's not healed and whole. It is, but we're covering our eyes, right? We're merely covering our eyes. We're not seeing the wholeness and the completeness, so it can't manifest. But you wake up and your body's not feeling well. The shoulder has hurt. I've had this pain in my shoulder. You would say to yourself for a decade now, I wish it would go. You're fighting with the moment that's in front of you. In this moment, you have perfect vision, or vision assisted with glasses or whatever, but you can see, you can walk, you can eat, but you're fighting with the shoulder. It's like, okay, life has offered me a shoulder that hurts right now. This is the moment that's unfolding in front of me. What do I normally do? Oh, I put that ointment on it and that does ease it. So let me just go do that from a place of peace. not from a place of, why is this still here? It's like the moment that's unfolding in front of me right now has some pain in my body. I don't want to feel this way. I felt this way for so. You can fight with the moment in front of you, or you can peacefully interact with the moment that's in front of you. And from which place are you more apt to receive guidance, to receive healing, to receive assistance, to receive abundance? From what place? From that place of peace, or from the place of fighting with the moment that is unfolding in front of you? Just interact with the moment that's unfolding in front of you. Well, if you have $12 and there's some opportunity to get more, just go get the more, wherever it's from. Oh my gosh, I don't feel like using my credit card again. Right? It's like the one option that I see right now is to use my credit card to buy some groceries. That's the moment that's unfolding in front of me right now. I'm just going to roll with that and see what life has to offer next. And you do it from a place of peace rather than from a place of mental and emotional turmoil, and I feel complete. So let me just do a summary. So where we've been today, we covered 4 examples of aligning with it's not here yet. I wanted this for so many years. I've done all the things that I'm supposed to do and nothing is changing. I've been waiting for this for so long, strategizing on the how. And then we covered 6 possibilities for exploring ending the cycle, choosing to place our focus on what the universe is orchestrating behind the scenes, choosing where we're taking our cues from. Is it from our circumstances, or is it from knowing who we are and also from a potential that excites us? Choosing what we place our confidence and sense of security within. Is it a process? Very fleeting, very temporal. Is it an experience? Also very fleeting, very temporal. Or from our emotions, or from the state of being that we are not separate from the source within us. Number 4, crossing the bridge into what is permanent in a few different ways we covered. Number 5, cultivating an ongoing awareness of what is permanent. And number 6, living peacefully in a surrendered life experience.
And as we close, I just wanted to remind you to always take only that which resonates, because your higher self, your inner being, your soul, your spirit knows what is relevant for your unique personal journey at this point in time. And it's always wise to check in with your heart to see what genuinely resonates and move forward with only that. And know that you are always free to fully trust your inner guidance above any external guidance you may receive. See you soon.